Birth control is often a topic of controversy at Catholic universities like Marquette. This university only prescribes the pill for medical reasons other than contraception.
One of our own investigative reporters took a good look at how Jesuit universities across the country reacted to the issue. Down to the Wire with Clara Jansen is right now.
Thanks for the introduction, Blake and Chelsea. I'm Clara Jansen, and this is Down to the Wire. I'm joined here tonight by Projects reporter Caroline White, who conducted an investigation into what birth control options university medical clinics provide for their female students. Welcome, Caroline.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So my first question, I guess, is where did you get the idea for this story?
Yeah, so it all kind of started when I was talking to my friends, and they were talking to me about how hard it was to get birth control prescriptions. They would have to do it when they were home for breaks and get a prescription from their primary care providers, and it just ended up being a lot of work. So I looked into it, and it's really hard to get a prescription at school, so that's where it started.
Okay. And when you were looking into Marquette, where was the starting point for finding sources?
I emailed the person from the medical clinic, and she gave me some vague answers, which just kind of spurred my interest even more. And it's pretty difficult to get one at Marquette, actually.
Okay. So if I were to walk into the Marquette Medical Clinic and see a doctor and ask for a birth control prescription for reasons not related to sex, would they be able to give it to me?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the provider that you have and the conversation you have. Birth control can be used to treat a lot of medical conditions relating to menstruation, like if it's painful and affects your day-to-day activities. So it depends on that conversation, but if you walked in and just wanted it, they wouldn't give you one.
Okay. So what else can you tell me about the policies here at Marquette?
Yeah, so it's pretty vaguely worded, like I said, and it's not very well advertised, but if you did have like really painful menstruation, you could walk in and talk to a provider about that, but like you'd have to go somewhere else in Milwaukee if you wanted it for preventative sex reasons. And Marquette doesn't have an insurance policy, so it's not covered at all. So it leaves a lot of students kind of on their own in regards to that, yeah.
So then I understand you compared Marquette with other private institutions, Jesuit institutions, and then looking at overall public universities. Are there Jesuit institutions that will provide birth control at their medical clinics for reasons for sex?
Yeah, actually Xavier University in Cincinnati, their med clinic is run by a local hospital. And so because of their kind of lack of involvement, because it's through a third party, they are able to prescribe students with contraceptives due to sex.
Okay. And so Marquette isn't legally required.
No, there are actually no government regulations on whether or not university med clinics have to prescribe birth control or not. It's entirely university to university to decide that kind of thing. That's why with like Catholic universities, things can get really vague, they can get kind of secretive, and that's what I found in my research. Whereas at a lot of public universities, you can get a prescription no problem.
And is it most public universities, you would say?
Yeah, the ones that I looked into were UW-Madison, UW-Milwaukee, and University of Illinois. And at all of them, I actually called the med clinics, and they acted surprised that I was even asking. They were like, of course, we'll prescribe them. So it's my understanding that at least at most larger state schools, it's fairly easy to get a prescription. But like I said, there's no regulation, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. When you were talking to sources, people were overall receptive and willing to talk about it?
For the most part, yeah. I called about 23 med clinics kind of around the country. I'd say mostly segregated to the Midwest. And all of them were really helpful. They were really willing to help. A lot of them didn't even ask why I was calling in the first place. I told them the purpose, and they were like, great, we would love to talk to you about it. So yeah,
Okay.
It went really well.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here tonight, Caroline.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And everyone should go pick up a copy of the Marquette Tribune and read her story. Thank you so much, and back to Blake and Chelsea.